evening and a warm welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we'll be speaking about women and land, access to justice. I'll quickly introduce my guests that are in the studio here with me. And I'll start right next to me, Henry Sebagala, who is the Assistant CAO of Kayunga District. Henry, it's good to have you on the show.
Thank you, please.
I know that Henry is a man in a conversation on women and land, but Henry works very closely with most of the women that come. You are the first point of contact, really, I think, for
Indeed.
a lot of issues in the districts.
Yeah.
So it's good to have you to share your expertise with us. We have Goreth Ayebale, who is a lawyer at Justice Centers Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us, Goreth.
Thank you very much for welcoming us here too.
All right, and finally we have Millie Nakamanya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Millie. Millie is a legal officer at SHED. Thank you for joining us, Millie.
Thank you for hosting us, Josephine.
Millie, what does SHED do?
SHED help women in accessing their rights to reach their meaningful lives. For instance, in land issues, we help them by giving them legal aid and mediation.
Okay, I think we're going to understand a bit more about what you do. Justice Centers Uganda seems self-explanatory, but we'll understand a lot more about what you do as we go along with the conversation. Just to set the stage for it, when we speak about land issues in regards to women, perhaps you could paint the picture for us by giving us some examples of the women that have come to you or that you've interacted with and the kind of issues they have. Henry, I think I'll start with you. In Kayunga, for example, could you share some issues that come up that the women bring to you, to your attention?
Thank you, please. I've handled quite many cases where women have been deprived of their right of access to and even use land. There is a case in Nazigo sub-county. The parish is called Bukamba, the sub-county is called Nazigo, the parish is called Bukamba. A man died, he left a widow and some children, and only one female child. He even left a will, having distributed his assets very well, except for the matrimonial home. Now, the only girl child, or the female child, benefited from a kibanja, but because she was in marriage already, what she did, she got somebody whom she hired this kibanja too. So the kibanja was hired by a man who was growing tomatoes. Now, after 2 years, the brothers of the girl who had ownership over what? The kibanja, conspired with the man who was hiring the kibanja, and they wrote a land sale agreement for him on the basis that the girl or their sister should not have what? Benefited. Their reasoning was that, no, she unduly influenced what? That either their father didn't have the right mind to give her the kibanja, or that the girl unduly influenced what? The father. Then they summed it by saying that that girl should benefit from where she married. However, good enough, we intervened and we reversed the whole issue. So the kibanja got back to that girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these the common things that you hear?
Yeah,
Do you have any other examples you could share with us?
When you come to Justice Centers Uganda, most of the women that come to us are the unmarried women who have been cohabiting for so many years, and they have lived on particular land, believing to know that this is their family land. Then at the end of it all, the men come and sell them and move on, and then they leave the woman with the children in the house. So you find the woman is left struggling with nowhere to go, and the land has been sold off. And in addition to what he has said, many people believe that women are not supposed to inherit from their relatives or their husbands or their father's land. They're not supposed to inherit anything. So we have those issues. Even some of the women themselves believe that much as I'm not supposed to inherit, at least they should give me a smaller portion Yet, under normal circumstances, every woman is entitled to get as equal as what a man should get. So those are some of the challenges. And then you find a woman gets all her money that she has and gives it to a man to buy land. And then the man will process this land and put it in his own name. Then the woman will come and tell, we purchased that land together with a man. And when there is no any evidence to show that actually they jointly purchased this land.
Okay. Where do these problems begin from? You hinted at something, and that's culture, I think, on
Yes.
how we were raised and what we were taught to believe. Is that where it all comes from, or there are other underlying factors?
I think there is a knowledge gap within the communities. For example, they don't think that a woman can own a certain piece of land, or a girl is supposed to be included in the will. They look at them as inferior.
There is a lot of gender imbalance when it comes to handling land issues. Even in instances where there is nothing like a will, people still believe that a woman cannot have children, and when these children are born, they belong to a man's family.
Exactly.
So when the man passes on, they always tell the woman, you're free to go and marry, but you can leave our children with us. You can even leave the land that was processed by our son with us. You're free to go and start your life. So they simply look at this woman, she's just an object who just came into our home, and at the demise of the husband, she's supposed to leave and go and start a new life. And most especially if these are women who are not married, because even the law, when it comes to protecting them, it is too weak. The married women, even when there is such kind of knowledge gap, but at least if they can move around, there is a way the law will come in and protect them. So some of these questions, like you're asking, where do they come from? They come right from the back of how we have believed that women are supposed to be treated in a certain manner. Even as women, we believe that we're supposed to be treated in a certain manner. Even I've seen people who are educated and they know all these things, but they still believe that if we have land, me and my husband, we have land, it should be in the names of the husband. For them, they feel like, no, I'm just a woman, so I'm supposed to be submissive to my husband. Whatever he says or whatever I own, it is supposed to be his. He's supposed to be in control. So there is that power control that is given to the man. At the end of it all, it affects the women.
Millie, you'd mentioned something about ignorance, and I want you to expound on that. I mean, there's a huge bit that we can blame to culture, but even the lack of knowledge about things like this. Millie, if you could shed a bit more light on that.
So about that, we are trying to educate, to train these community leaders on how to help the citizens and encourage them to write wills and include girls, that girls or women are also beneficiaries from the money's properties.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And to add to that, actually the community needs to know. Actually, we need to approach the problem of knowledge gap, and then the problem of mindset change. People should know that whatever a man can do,
Even a
woman can do. Whatever your son can do, even somebody's, and my daughter can do what? Except, I think, giving birth. The rest of it also. Even when it comes out to giving out assets, giving out what? Properties, they should be at par. If you're giving an acre to like me, I'm Sevagala, I have my daughter Nakawesa, I have my daughter my son Chigozi. Why should Chigozi take 3 acres of land and then I give Nakawesa just a plot of land in the same location? On the argument that for you Nakawesa, you're supposed to go and get married, and when you get married you benefit from the side of your what? That's wrong. Actually, the reasoning is very wrong.
Goreth touched on that, on what you're saying. And Goreth, when you say that she's going to, when this husband passes on, or that the children she gives birth to will belong to
the man inside. So it's like, for you just came to push children for them, and in case the man demises, for you as a woman, you're supposed to walk away and start your own life. Such that even if you have been owning property here where the man is living, you don't have any claim. They still believe that is a man's property. Leave us and go and start your own life.
So your father did not give you property because you are going to get property when you got married.
When you
Then
get
you got married, they
They'll
don't give you
still push you
property
off.
because
So that's the dilemma that a woman is facing when it comes to land.
In fact, that one is very interesting, and it's quite intriguing. Actually, in quite many cases I've handled and many cases I've seen, when a man dies, the sisters of the man come in very fast. Mwanyinaffe, ebintu bya mwanyinaffe, abaana ba mwanyinaffe. They would want to substitute the position of the widow with themselves. They would want even to set aside completely the rights of what? Of the children. And in many instances, they are supported by the mothers
And the entire clan.
of the actually the entire clan.
Entire clan.
So where is help for women in situations like this? I'll start with you, Henry. When they come to you, what does your office do if they come to the district?
Yeah, and when they come to the district, we are supposed to hold a family meeting with them on the basis of a letter written by the Office of the Administrator General. Now, what we do, what we do, we make sure that whoever is supposed to attend the meeting attends. And who are those people? Because when Administrator General writes, he writes to the Chief Administrative Officer, requesting the Chief Administrative Officer to convene a family meeting. Now, who are somebody's family members? Like if I die myself, who are my family members? I have core family members, my wife and my what?
Children.
My children. The rest of
Both
the people,
girls and the boys.
yeah, the rest of the people, my mother who is dead, my sisters, etc. Those are extended what? Family members. They are actually dispensable.
Yes.
So the point is, we should as much as possible make sure that we hold a family meeting with the right people, not leaving out anybody. But of course there is a problem, and the problem comes in when, like for instance, because you don't know exactly what lies behind what the family is about of the dead man. You tell them, how many wives did he leave? How many widows? I'm the only one. How many children? So at times there are lies.
Because you might not know. You might not know that the other wives.
Those are not wives, they're just concubines.
Yes.
But at least we make sure. Okay, well, what the point is that
But do those are they part of the core family?
the concubines,
Yes, with the other children.
part of the core family.
If you're calling for this family meeting,
This, I stand to be advised, but what we do, which is subject to correction, is that one, we seek to know which is the woman, or who is the woman who lived with the deceased up to the deceased's point of death. So they tell us, or you're in Namandu, she's the widow.
I think the lawyers have something to say.
Then, not before she comes in, then we ask, how many children did the deceased leave? Do all the children belong to this woman? So you may find that as you cross-check among the parenthood of the children, some of the children, their mothers, actually their mothers never had even a marriage life with the dead man. However, what do we do? Because the point is, a man dies, he leaves behind children who are young, and these children who are young, their mothers have never had a marriage life with the dead man. So, and the child is a juvenile. These children cannot what?
Someone has to
speak for themselves. Yes. So what do? We invite the mother.
Okay, Henry, let's take a short break.
Is it wrong?
Let's take a short break, and we'll continue this conversation and hear from the lawyers when we return. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, the NTV Uganda studios, and we're speaking about women and land, access to justice. Before we took a break, Henry was sharing what happens and when they call for a meeting. And I wanted to turn it to the legal minds and just find out what is the process. And like Henry was telling us, when they say the family that comes to the meeting, who is the family that comes to the meeting?
Okay. All right. First of all, I want to thank Henry for what they're doing in their offices and making sure that they don't leave out these women, the ones that we always call friends, cohabitees, concubines, that they call them to represent the interest of the children who are very young, because these are people who cannot speak on their own. So when it comes to the legal mind, okay, as Justice Centers Uganda, how we handle these people, because initially the first question was how do we help these people? We have a toll-free line that we operate, that in case you need any information, you need how to be advised, you can call on that line, because we consider the clients that we receive on a daily basis are very vulnerable and they cannot even afford airtime. So we have a toll-free line that you can call on even when you don't have airtime on it, so that you can receive the information to help you. We've received a lot of women who feel aggrieved by the widows who are really married in law. You know, we have different types of marriages in law, but there are these other cohabitees. They're the ones who mainly come to us and running and say, because the other one was a legal wife, my interest was not recognized at all. So we have those various kinds of women. And when it comes to the meetings that are held by the offices that Henry attend to upon the directive of the Administrator General, they look at the family members, and like he's saying, we look at the direct family members of these, of the families of the deceased person, and we are looking at the children, we are looking at the wives, and when we are talking of wives, we look at legal wives. You're not looking at concubines. But then when
and by legal wife you mean?
A person who is married under church, a person who has gone to civil marriages, register of marriages and registered their marriage, a person who's been married under Islamic marriage, a person who has been introduced culturally according to cultural marriages, but not a person you have met and established a family and decided to stay with that person and give birth without anything to prove your marriage.
So even if they're the ones at your time of death, they were the ones that you are with and you've been with them for 10 years?
For as long as they're not legally married, those are just your friends.
Okay.
And they will only be considered in law, their opinion will only be considered if they have children, young children, and they are standing in for these young children, because for them they are not beneficiaries. When it comes to these women who you stayed with for all your years, and they are the ones that they were there at the time of your death, they are not considered as beneficiaries when it comes to your estate, unless if they were provided for in your will. But if you died without making any will, God forbid, their interest is just sleeping there unless someone comes up and fights for their rights, or on humanitarian grounds and you're like, you know what, let's do this.
Okay.
When these people call on us, we give them the basic legal advice, and if we need that their needs are beyond just the basic legal advice and they need processed further, we invite them into our offices. And when we call them to our offices, the first thing is to set a meeting, like similar like what they are doing, but for us we convene meeting on our own as Justice Centers Uganda. We sit and we call these mediations in most cases, and they agree, and sometimes they agree on who they want to administer. They can even say maybe the mother of the children who is not married, the family members can agree, let her co-administer with somebody else. So they move along with these documents to the Administrator General's office for purposes of implementing whatever they have agreed on. Because remember, they cannot deal with an estate of an deceased person without letters of administration. So we help them through that whole process to ensure that at least their rights are determined. And if they come when they feel aggrieved, like maybe somebody else has gotten letters of administration without their knowledge, we help them to file caveats in court to ensure that at least there is no any action that is done on this estate unless they have been notified.
Okay. Okay. I think also to help us, because there are different circumstances that come into play for women in regards to issues of land. Henry, I'm going to keep coming back to you for examples, because you are at the center really of it. The land that women buy, and also the land that they might inherit perhaps from their fathers or whoever, how do we secure that land? Do you have circumstances or examples that you can share with us of when that has come into play?
There is a case, actually quite many cases, where a woman is in marriage, then she inherits a piece of land or even a house, either from her mother or from her father. And then the husband says, no, I don't want anything from your parents' side. No, me, I'm capable of raising assets for my for my family. I don't want anything. It's very rare for a woman to go and do a transaction openly, like of buying land on her own when she's in what? In a marriage. Even the people from whom he's buying, or the people who get to know, people will ask themselves that, how come this woman who is so and so's what? Wife is buying what? Land.
Where is he?
What happened to the gentleman? What happened to the gentleman? And in case a woman is selling, then the issue would be that unless we get the consent of the man, and it may even be property she inherited from her parents, but because she's in marriage, property she inherited from her what? Parents, or property she bought on her own before getting into what? A marriage. It may even be an unlawful what? Marriage. Now when she decides to sell, the else one says that, please let omwami oli, omwami atekeko ki omukono. I would want your husband to consent to the sale agreement, short of which I can't proceed with this.
Now,
how do we secure this?
That is very interesting. Referring to the properties that the women have inherited to justice centers, the stories or the real life examples that we have experienced, these women inherit their land, and I'm surprised that Henry is saying this, men never say no to property. Even when the woman has inherited her little property, the man will tell you go and sell it, because he doesn't want to be seen going into the what? Yes. The woman's home. Yeah. So the man will compel this woman to go and sell off her inheritance.
Exactly.
And she will sell it and bring the money and give it to the man, boom. And then when the man gets this money, he will buy the property, not considering that actually this was the benefit that the lady inherited from her home. He will buy in his own hand and own it like it is his own land. So at the end of it all, when they get challenges and conflicts, the woman has nowhere to go. She sold off her inheritance and gave the money to the man that he thought that loved her. And she's just in space. And the man is telling her, no, this was my land. It is even written in my names. What proof do you have to show that you sold what you had and you gave me and there is nothing?
Exactly.
For the consent, again getting another should I call it like surprising, that the LCs, the local leader down there, they will refuse a woman to sell her land without the consent. Yet it is too common that men are selling off properties that where women are staying without the women's consent. As much as the law is saying that you cannot sell property, matrimonial property where the family ordinarily lives, without the consent of the woman, a man doesn't mind.
A man doesn't mind.
He will just go and sell.
Exactly.
And
the LC minds.
And the LC doesn't mind. When it's a woman, then that's why I'm saying I'm surprised that when it's a woman, the LC minds. Really. So the people who are there and they're listening to us, I really want us to treat like women, we are also human beings.
Exactly.
We need to be treated just the way the men are treated. If I have my property that is family land and I have brought you and I have accepted it's our family land, I will not sell it without your consent. Without your consent. Similarly, don't sell without my consent and leave me homeless.
Millie, is this the situation you see on ground as well?
Yes, we discovered that, and as shared, we discovered that women fail to formalize their land rights because of financial disability.
What do you mean by formalize? What do they have to do?
Like they fail to transfer their rights, for example, the one they get in form of inheritance or sale. Like for example, they can get a land transfer, but they can't formalize it into a land title.
So what does that mean if she does not make that transfer?
Now if she does it, not to cut them short, if she doesn't make the transfer, it means that piece of land is very, very vulnerable. Anybody can grab it. Actually, like for instance, if we are sharing an acre of land, I'm a male, my sister is a female. She has a share which is half an acre and I have a share which is half an acre, given to us by our father. As long as she delays to transfer her own ownership, I can have it transferred wholesomely into my names. Yes.
Okay. So key thing is word of mouth is not enough. There has to be documentation.
On such matter, we've engaged Equity Bank and in our final stages of concluding the memorandum of understanding with Equity Bank, to enable these women access loans at a cheap interest rate.
So first of all, we need to educate them
Yes.
that they have to make these transfers.
Yes,
Exactly.
And then
we
give
on
them
ground
access to
educating them.
Financial institutions that
Yes.
can allow.
Yes, through
Okay.
local leaders in our areas like Masaka, Kayonga, Wakiso, and Kampala.
And Kampala.
All right. What happens with joint purchases? Where are the complications there? So you're legally married, you buy land together. Where are there complications there?
Definitely. The problem comes in when there's a disagreement in the marriage and one of the parties feels that they should let go of the other, that the marriage should what? Should end. For instance, it could be like you raised a building and you are getting money out of the building. And maybe the tenants were depositing money for you on an account, a joint what? Account. But you can now no longer sign for the bank to issue the money to you on a joint what? Account. So what usually happens is that the men tend to override and they just get the women swamped.
Correct.
Okay, just to add on that, there is a very good example I can give of a case. These people just got misunderstandings and they were legally married, so they bought land and they registered this land in the names of their daughter.
The land was in the names of the daughter?
Of the daughter, yes. So the daughter is 20 years old, implying she's now an adult. On the legal basis of it, they all appear to be like they're just licensees who are seated on the daughter's land by the time they registered it into the daughter's name. But now they come up and agree, let us sell this land because of the differences. Of course, the man wanted to sell it and have it alone and get rid of this woman, simply because it was his land, it was his money, much as they registered it into the daughter's name. The woman said, no, we are not going to sell this land, because for him he's sleeping somewhere else with another woman, and then the woman, this is her home, and this is where she's raising, and the man doesn't have any problem selling it off. So they agreed, let us sell it. The man takes 60% and the woman takes 30%. But
and then the 10%?
60%, sorry, takes 70% and the man takes 30%. But then when you look, I think this woman somehow got some knowledge. She was highlighted by people who are advocates and told her, let her not sell. Because under normal circumstances, if you're married, legally married, and this is your family land, regardless of whether you're the one who bought it or it is me who bought it, the thing is 50-50. As long as it's a family land, and that's where we ordinarily live, and we agree that let us sell, you take 50, I take 50. Why should you give me 30% and then you take 70%? Now the issue became very complicated because now this land, it's neither in the names of each spouse.
It's with the child.
It's with the child. Of course, for them, they're saying our child doesn't have any problem. First, she says she's tired of these battles that we are having, and she says it is okay, deal with the land however you want to deal with it. So when it comes to land, these are the challenges that we are facing. Women are always squeezed to the bottom, to the extreme, that whichever little that we can give you, take it and you go and start. But if they are not legally married at all, they are always told to move off. And I always tell the women, if you know that you're not legally married, don't waste your time investing in a home that you know that you're not going to benefit at the end of it all when things go sour. If you're not legally married, do your things alone, such that when things get bad, you know where to run back to, instead of staying here and grumbling with something registered in the man's home. You have spent all your time there, you have wasted it, and you don't have any legal basis on which you can raise a complaint.
Gareth, you left a story incomplete. I want to know what happened to that.
To this one, it is still ongoing.
What happens?
Yes.
Because I know a lot of parents who buy land for and register it in the names of the children. At this point, isn't the child the one that's supposed to sell the land?
Definitely at this point, and I think at the beginning of it you said we need to have those issues. The children, we've seen children who are coming and telling the parents, go out of our land. They have grown up and they're saying, this is our land, get off. Yeah. In most cases, this is our land, you gave me, it is a gift. And when you give someone a gift, you don't again come and take it off, because you have transferred. You have even put into their own land. So they have become the real owner. When you come to land, they say the registered owner of the land, it's conclusive ownership. So if it is registered in your name as the daughter, that is your land. So these parents are at the mercy of the child. If she says this is what is going to happen, this is what will happen. If they are still young, imagine that even this land cannot be transferred even when they are still young. You have to come as a guardian for you if you want to sell this land. So whatever people are doing, and you're married and you're trying to use this land as a protection using your children, just know that you're going to be at their mercy in case they grow up and they can make decisions on their own.
Okay, that's a good point of information. Let's take another short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. I have quite a number of questions, but we'll discuss those ones after the show. We're speaking about women and land, access to justice, and we're speaking about joint ownership before we took a break. And Henry, you wanted to raise something.
Yes,
in
maybe
this
to wind it up, because men are naturally risk takers. Men are very adventurous. What a man will do if there's need for money,
he'll sell.
if there's need to take a loan or to get credit from the bank, he'll take the land title or the land sale what? Agreement to the bank. And when the bank insists that the spouse also what? Come. The spouse's photograph does not appear on the what? On the land title. It does not appear on the what? On the land sale agreement. So what do the men do? They take their sisters. Or if a man has children who are quite what? Mature, those are the people they take there, and then they get the money. Yes.
Actually,
and then they get money.
To add on that,
And what happens on many instances, they defraud
The wife.
on the what? On the bank loan, and the land goes.
yeah.
Correct. Yes.
To add on that, women don't keep documents. For example, such documents. They come to our offices crying that we bought this land with this man, but when we ask her about any documentation, she just keeps on saying, I gave him money. I gave him money.
I gave them
Very
money.
trusting.
Yes.
They're very trusting.
And just to add on what Mill is saying, there is a real clear implication of joint ownership, co-ownership. There is ownership in common and then joint ownership. When these women are telling you that we are joint owners, they are actually not joint owners. They are simply claiming to be joint owners, but when they are legally not joint owners. So when you
in their understanding,
Yes.
they've made a contribution
Yes,
to buying this
to
land.
buying this land, and they only appear as witnesses on that sale agreement. But the sale agreement is saying that I sold to Henry, implying Henry is the sole owner. There is nothing like joint ownership. It is okay for a woman to have joint ownership of her land with somebody else, but the document should be very clear. You as a woman who is there and viewing us, that this document is saying that I, Goreth and Henry, we bought land. There it is very clear that we bought land. And what Henry is saying, actually I was speaking from some of the clients who had come to us and having similar issues and wondering what did they do. That we are joint owners, but the man went ahead and sold. How did he sell titled land? So they just carry someone like a sister and they take to land and then they transfer.
This is the madam.
This is the madam. Because they know that it is very difficult to sell. If you're a joint owner, you cannot sell without the other person. Because you're all appearing on the title and transfers cannot be effected. So there is a lot of forgery. And in such instances, if it happens, us as justice centers, we can come up to challenge this whole sale. Because I did not sell my part. You sold.
It
and
was not me who came. It
who
was
came?
another madam.
Yes, it was impersonation.
I realize now why at a lot of
Very well.
functions now, bridal showers and so on, they tell women that they come and advise women, Henry, this is not for your ears. They come and advise women and say, please, even when you're married, buy your things separate, buy and and keep it. Henry, you wanted to say something?
She has spoken quite impressively, because what she is impressing upon us is the fact that there is a difference between a joint purchase and joint ownership. We may jointly buy a vehicle, we jointly buy a house or a piece of land.
But we don't.
But if we are not careful, the way the agreement is written, maybe I've relinquished my interest. The woman relinquishes her interests and even her rights to the man, and the land goes.
This is where it's important to have legal support in terms of even in doing this, that you have somebody, if you can't read, they're able to explain that to you. Let's talk about women giving land to their children, the complication that's there. How do you ensure that the land that you are passing on to your children is secure and carries no complication?
Okay. Maybe what I'll say, if you find a person like who is humanitarian and understand your case, I'll give just an example of this 19-year-old boy who came to our office and wanted the mother of her land, simply because this mother sold her inheritance wherever she was. She sold it, and because she was in fear of having this name registered in the man's name, and even registering it in her own names, fearing the man will hate her, she decided, let us agree and register the land into our son's name. So now the son, who is 19 years, has connived with her father, and you're saying, woman, get off the land. And her story, you cannot believe it, because there is nothing to show. And the man is also claiming, I'm the one who brought the money to buy this land and put it into our son's name. And the woman is saying, I'm the one who sold my inheritance and put it into the son's name. So it implies the land is for the son. And the son is saying, woman, get off my land. This is my land.
This is that real son.
Real son, the one, yes. So now, for us who are women activists, if such a son is the one who has approached us, we are not going to tell this woman to get off this land. So we normally call them to sit down on a round table and we agree. We do a lot of counseling as much as possible for this lady, for this son to understand this is your mother. And whatever she did, for you are very young, you don't know whether she's the one who got the money or not. So she's still your mother regardless of that fact. So we always enter into kind of a negotiation to strike a balance. But when you get into the legal implication and say, let us carry these things into court, you might find that she's actually going to lose out.
Yeah, most definitely she will.
I've sat in many meetings, family meetings, whereby actually what has come out has really proved that women, mothers in particular, are part of the problem of marginalization of women in matters of what? Of land. A woman dies and she has land to give out. Actually, she may give, in many cases, they give out land to their sons and not to their what? Daughters. Not to their daughters. With the mind that the daughters will go, they get married, and where they are married from, they will get what? Land. Then there are instances whereby a woman gives land to her children, but then the brothers, of course it leads to a fight between the children, the sisters, and the brothers, and then the men come in, or the sons come in to do what?
The uncles,
the
woman's brothers.
Exactly, to dispossess.
Is one of the issues the lack of proper documentation? So the woman inherited land from her parents.
Yes.
And maybe there was no title exchange. Now she's passing on that land to the children.
Yes.
And there's nothing to show that it was in fact her land in the first place.
Definitely.
Yes.
So how do we secure that land? How do we help there?
Okay, now as us, we are going to go back into the legal managing of this land. Because we are not going to just there is no documentation, there is nothing, you're not going to come and tell us that this land was mine and now I'm leaving it to my children. If this land belonged to your parents and there is nothing like a will indicating that they gave you, or nothing like a gift deed to show that they gave you this land, for us we are going to treat this land like as if this person died intestate. Died without making a will, and the people who are supposed to benefit from this land are the children of the deceased. And you, as a woman who is a child of the deceased, you also have a share to that land. So your share, if you have passed on, will definitely go to your children.
Okay. Okay, we're going to wrap up, and I want to start with you, Millie. What do you want us to take home from this conversation?
We encourage women to keep documents on any land rights, and then we encourage them, those who knows, to teach others. Especially we have so many women in our communities who don't know their rights, to teach them about their rights and the right procedure they can go through to fight for their land.
Great, that's important. Henry, I'll come to you next. What do you want us to pick from today?
Yes, thank you, Madam. I would want to call for change of mind and change of attitude. First, from the cultural setting. A girl child weighs as heavily as a boy. The setting should change in such a way that they should not be disadvantaged anymore. They should not be what? Disfavored. And I would want to appeal to all stakeholders in the justice, law and order sector, in the management of land affairs, especially so where women are in conflict, to take up the issues of women so much. If, like, for instance, a case is reported of loss of land, grabbing of land, dispossession of land, and the complainant is what? Is a woman. How I wish such cases should be given what? Priority. We should be more proactive towards what? Women. Let us be more proactive towards what? Women. Yes.
Okay. I think one of the most important things also is awareness.
Awareness.
So thank you all for, first of all, for agreeing to come on the show and just share this information. I know that for some people it's common knowledge, but for a lot of people it's
exactly,
things they had no idea about.
Exactly.
Sorry, you wanted to say something else?
Yes, to add on awareness, what we are doing as SHED, we are going to we've already trained local council chairpersons on basic rights, on land rights, and how to involve women in prevention and management of land, and mediation to avoid some of these land conflicts. Then we are also going to train land monitors per village in our areas of focus. For example, as I've said already, we are working in Masaka, Kayunga, Wakiso and Kampala.
Okay.
We will also have community, or we call it citizen parliaments in communities, to educate the population about land rights and women, especially particularly on women. We train them about basic laws on succession and inheritance, and how to avoid land conflicts through mediation.
Okay. Thank you, Millie. And when you say land conflicts, I think about how a lot of murders and things like the violence that we see is actually a result of land. So land is a big issue, and usually the women actually
at the center of
the biggest hit from it. I would like to allow Goreth to wrap up our conversation. Maybe I'll give you 1 minute, just say what you need to say before I
and
really
another thing, we are sensitizing the population through radio adverts. We have radio adverts and talk shows about the same issue.
All right. Goreth, finally, how do we proceed? What do we take home from this conversation?
Thank you very much, Josephine. All I can say from the part of Justice Centers Uganda, I'm going to call upon the women who are viewing this to call us on a toll-free line. It is 0800 100 225. You can call that line during working days. That is from Monday to Friday from 8 up to 5. Or you can walk directly to our offices. We are located at Mingo Chief Magistrate's Court. The last floor is Justice Centers Uganda. So if you have any issue in land, if you're a woman and you're having any challenge, not just women, everyone. But now for this emphasis, we shall take it as in we are going to hold women as special to ensure that at least we manage their conflicts.
Definitely.
So kindly call us. The number 0800 100 225 is specifically for women. I'll not give for the men because this is not a topic about men. So let the women call us on that number. Okay. Thank you very much, Josephine.
Thank you, Goreth. And I thought you'd wrap up by also just asking women to ensure proper documentation.
Definitely. All I'm going to say for me, what I'm going to say about women wrapping up, have your documentation, that is okay, but have your own layback system. Don't be dependent on a man all your life. In case things go wrong, you know where to fall back. In case you don't have the documents protect you, you don't have the law to protect you, at least you can protect yourself. So don't carry everything that you own and you give it to the man because he's a man. What is yours is yours. Let the man also own what is his.
The argument there will always be that you are trying to break
I'm not breaking anyone's relationship. I'm just telling the women, be empowered.
I think one of the things that has stood out for me the most has been how the children also can easily turn against you.
Yeah.
You put money there to buy them this land. So that takes for a lot of
it's not a guarantee that they will always stand by you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, all of you. We really appreciate your insights. That brings us to the end of our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. Coming up is NTV Weekend Edition.